We are on. It doesn't even look like the camera's pointing at you.
Yeah,
but it is. You got a better view of the viewfinder.
Yeah, it looks like you're a little bit out, just a tad bit on your left.
Okay, so here we go. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. This is Scott West,
Chaz Alexander,
and we are the Career Marketing Dudes. We're not sure what our name is yet. But today we are going to talk about the topic of public speaking and why so many people fear public speaking to the point where they would actually rather face death over public speaking. Well, what do I mean when I say that? The largest phobia, the single largest phobia in America is the fear of spiders, arachnophobia. Are you afraid of spiders?
I am.
I'm not afraid of spiders, but I certainly do not like them.
Yeah.
And if I see one, I'll kill it very fast. So I understand this fear that that people have. The second largest phobia, believe it or not, though, is public speaking.
Oh, I thought it was death.
Death is number 3. People would rather die
than have to speak publicly.
Isn't that crazy? They'd rather lay in the coffin than give the eulogy.
Nice.
So that's what we'd like to talk about. We're going to talk about in the upcoming series that we are putting together. And of course, that kind of stupid stuff that I just said, we edit out.
No,
right?
That's good.
But you know how to do this. Yeah. Just keep on and going. Keep on and going. And if we totally muff something, just say, okay, back up.
Well, I was going to ask you about that statistic.
Repeat again.
So I was like, you shared a really good statistic with me before, and it was the spider.
Oh yeah.
Death.
Right.
And then
public
speaking.
I think that kind of just do
connection.
It. Yeah. When it comes to your mind, I think what am I trying to say? Our off the cuff conversations are better than any prepared lecture.
Agreed. So when it comes to public speaking, man, I'll tell you, I was afraid. I remember when I originally had to do a public presentation, I was sweating. I had a good teacher who actually recorded me for my first public presentation to prepare me.
Oh, wow.
And the first thing that they focused on was, nervous habits. And so I had
You were doing
tapping.
Stuff.
I would just always tap, and so I'd stand there and like, yes, and so today, and that was my comfort zone, was the tap. But I immediately got launched into the arena of public speaking, where I started out with just a class of 20 people that were my colleagues, to a class of 28 people that I was instructing, into an auditorium of 500 people.
How'd that feel?
I'd rather speak in front of the auditorium than in front of the 28.
Most people would think that's though.
Yeah.
They think they would rather have a smaller crowd than a giant
crowd. I would say because the eye contact is more obvious in the smaller group, that's usually where it was like, oh man, they're looking at me. If I mess up, this is it. In the crowd of 500, I don't have to look at anybody. I just gaze off and say what I need to say. Yeah.
Right. It's true. I find the same thing true, actually. I find it easier to speak in front of very, very large crowd versus a smaller group setting, or even one-on-one sometimes.
One-on-one, yes.
But yeah, for sure. And regardless of the setting, when we go forward in the series, we'll have tips and tricks and hacks for both. For larger public venues, for boardroom presentation type of public speakings, to an interview, a face-to-face interview with just one employer or a panel of employers, which can make it make you
You've
nervous.
done a panel before.
Oh, yes. Absolutely.
How did that go? I haven't had the luxury.
I've been on both ends of panel interviews. And for sure, the more people in the room, the more nervous you're going to be as the interviewee, because you have more people to please, and more people to worry about, and your brain's flying. And we'll help with that. We'll teach you how to tame your thoughts during these moments.
And one myth I think that's probably, I've tried it and it never works, and that's imagining everyone in their underwear.
It doesn't work.
Doesn't work unless it's all the same sort of underwear. Is it briefs? Is it boxers? Is it Victoria's Secret?
And most people in the room, you don't want to see them in their underwear anyway.
Yes.
It's like, well, that's a visual I didn't want.
Right. So,
but that's true. That's a great topic, actually, and this is a good thing for notes as well.
Yes, sir.
We
Yes,
get
sir.
ideas through these.
Mythbusters.
But mythbusters in the career marketing field. People think that you have to be 15 minutes earlier. That's just off the top of my head.
Yes,
But there's a lot of conceptions out there and misconceptions on what it is to be in a good or a bad interview.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And the advice you get on these topics varies greatly.
Varies greatly. We call that subjective.
What's the answer to that? Well, if I have an interview for two different locations, two completely different companies, how do you prepare for something like that? How do you know going in that, I don't know, I totally lost my thought.
That's right. Well, I'm a firm believer in the 15 minute. I think that...
Oh, that was it, myths.
Yeah. I think 15 minutes is adequate time, not only for your jitters to go down, but for you to kind of observe the arena in which you're in. And then it gives the front desk usually some time to observe you.
Right.
Because an important key being a former front desk employee is that the front desk is watching you. The front desk is observing you. And so what you do in that 15 minutes matters. And so small talk with the front desk usually is good. Reading material on the place of employment, if it's there, making use of that time is usually where
Stay
it
busy, don't
benefits
just
you.
sit there and stare in space.
Yes, and then of course know the name of your interviewer.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a great, I love that topic, and showing up early. In fact, I've helped people get jobs, and then of course back in the day when I was job hunting, and by the way, we're both very successful job hunters, so just in case you were wondering why we talked with expertise on this
Yes.
topic. But even 15 minutes is cutting it close. If you time yourself for 15 minutes, you're asking for disaster. First of all, you drive to the location on the time and the date, if possible, at the same time of day and a weekday as possible, so you know exactly how to get there and where to park and what the traffic will be like, blah,
Yes,
blah,
sir.
blah. Then I sit in the parking lot for 10 or 15 minutes and wind down before I walk in.
Yep.
And then that's when I shoot it.
That's
That's
when
what
you
you
shoot it.
just did.
Right. And even practicing in the parking lot, practicing some questions, answering those questions, and a lot of people, they go into the questions that they should be asked in an interview, and what are they going to ask me? And so that's where all the nerves come from. And usually you're more nervous if you try to remember exactly what you want to say. So reciting what you want to say. It's a little bit more nervous because you practice every single word, right? And you're like, I'm going to say, hi, my name is Chaz, and my 3 skills are this, this, and that, right? And what if the question is, so how you doing today?
Right.
Hi,
my name is Chaz.
Right? So now you got your topic. It's like, it doesn't fit.
Right.
So definitely when preparing for interviews, which is a form of public speaking, because you're going to have that one-on-one with that employer or that panel, it's definitely becoming comfortable with what you want to say. And not necessarily how you're going to say it.
Right.
And so keeping things in mind of, I want to talk about my skills. I want to talk about my experience. I want to talk about,
That's good too.
a little bit about my professionalism and who I am. And if I know what I want to talk about, I can deliver it no matter how the question comes to me.
That's really good
No matter how the
advice.
question comes to me,
That's
so.
super good advice. It's funny that most people, if given the opportunity, can talk about themselves better than any topic they know.
Right.
But put them in an interview, talk about me? Oh my gosh, I don't know. And they can't think of anything good to say about themselves. But outside an interview situation, they can give you their qualifications up and down.
Up and down.
Like they're the master, So that's another tip
sir.
and trick we
Another
talk
tip.
about, how to get in that mindset and how to be natural
Right.
in a high stress situation.
High stress situation.
Performance psychology.
Ooh.
Performance psychology.
So now you have to put performance psychology.
Exactly.
Performance psychology.
Performance psychology. Performing at the levels, at your peak levels,
Yes.
regardless of your outside circumstances. So
takes a mindset.
it doesn't matter who's sitting in the room. Doesn't
Right.
matter if you're in a job interview. It doesn't matter if you're in the bathroom. We
Right.
can cut that part out. You should be able to perform at the same level.
Right. Yeah,
All the
agree.
time.
I agree all the time, and it takes it is a psychology, a performance psychology, and it takes knowing yourself, because most people aren't comfortable with who they are, and so that's what kind of blemishes when they get to that interview, and they're like, "Who am I? Who do
being
they
comfortable
want?
with
Is it
yourself.
who they want me to be?" Right? Because when we go to an interview, we're usually saying, "Well, what do they want me to say?" Right? So if they ask me this, they probably want me to say that I'm hardworking.
Don't you think that at least 99% of applicants are going in right now with that mindset already?
Definitely, 99%.
So
I agree.
you're almost changing a culture.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
everything that people are reading in books and things about, getting a job, reading on LinkedIn and whatever else you go, wherever else
they can
you're
get it.
going,
Yes.
right, are actually getting misinformation.
Right. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And of course, there's always what works for you and what you're most comfortable doing, right? Because if somebody's not comfortable talking about themselves, they may recite. They may recite. And what can you do about it? If that's what makes them comfortable, just know that if you don't come out of that shell, you have the opportunity of having a mishap on your question. And what if you forget to tell your 3 skills and then your experience because you've got it ordered up and you're like, "Hi, my name is Chaz, and then I worked at Walmart," and you're like, "Oh, I forgot my skills. Hold on. Hi, my name is Chaz. My 3 skills are," right? You have to rewind just to get the script.
Hopefully quicker.
You got to get the script right. Of course, our brain works a little faster, but
Not when there's
one
people
brief instance.
watching you and listening to
Right,
you, right?
right.
Then we actually go,
Yeah, it gets intense.
Freeze.
And that 3 seconds of a freeze feels like 5 minutes. So, time is important. But good. All right.
pause for a second.
See you later.